Yo, Kash Krew, have you heard of this guy that's on my screen, David? Bro, this case has been going on for so long. Apparently, he killed a girl named Celeste, and now he's just apparently been proven guilty. So we're gonna go ahead and deep dive into to see where this has like taken us. This has happened like maybe yesterday, I think. I don't really know. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure you catch on the like button, catch on subscribing, and let's get into it.
Has officially been arrested in connection with the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, a case that's raised
Crazy
questions from the very beginning, because Celeste was found inside the front trunk of a Tesla, a vehicle that was reportedly registered to David himself. And with this arrest, this story has now entered an entirely new phase.
Yeah,
now,
bro, this
shit
shit is insane.
Started. On September 8, 2025, unidentified human remains believed at the time to be a young female were discovered inside the front trunk of a Tesla at an impound lot in Los Angeles, California.
Bro, mind you, this happened like months ago. I know I look kind of like phased out, but that's because like I've been fucking with settings. But anyway, anyway, this happened like months ago. So they just now finally found him guilty.
The car had been towed to a Hollywood impound lot where staff eventually noticed a strong odor coming from the vehicle, and after opening the front trunk, they made a disturbing discovery. Authorities were immediately called to the scene, and according to the court filings tied to the investigation, officers found human remains inside bags placed
Jesus.
in the trunk.
It's like, but the thing about it is, I don't know why it took it so long, because he was making songs about her. Like, people were saying, like, yo, your lyrics are a little sus there, bud.
It was clear the situation was serious and would require a thorough forensic investigation. And as the investigation unfolded, it was revealed that the vehicle was linked to a David Burke, professionally known as David.
Crazy.
It was one of several vehicles linked to the singer. David was a young artist who at the time was building serious momentum in the music.
And before he even did all this, I'm not gonna lie, I thought his music was pretty good, but then you started doing this bullshit, and I was like, yeah, can't do that, can't listen to you no more.
In the middle of a tour, which he would later cancel as the situation began to unfold. Now, at the time, it wasn't immediately known who the body belonged to, but sometime later, the medical examiner
What the hell is that?
identified the victim as Celeste.
What'd you just put on my screen, dog?
Celeste was discovered
I don't know if I can show that.
Birthday, meaning she was only 14 when she died. And based on early reports, it was believed that her body had been inside that vehicle for some time before being discovered. Only hours after the discovery, the LAPD executed a search warrant at a home in the Hollywood Hills area, where David had reportedly been staying. During that search, law enforcement seized surveillance footage from the property, collecting reportings.
What makes you want to do this, though, dog? Like, you was having such a good... Damn, you can't see my teeth. Anyway, but you was having such a good career, dog. Why? What makes you want to do this?
Multiple security cameras in and around the home. From that point on, the investigation intensified. Authorities began speaking with witnesses, collecting evidence, and working to piece together exactly what happened. And for months, there were a lot of questions, way more questions than answers. Because naturally, people were asking, how did this happen?
Exactly.
How did all this connect back to David, a rising artist, someone operating in the mainstream world of music? Now somehow linked to the murder of a 14-year-old girl. Now fast forward to today, nearly 7 months later, it appears investigators believe they've gathered enough evidence.
They built that Rico on his ass.
It has now officially been confirmed that David has been arrested in connection with this case. So let's break down what we actually know so far. Now, according to the authorities, this arrest wasn't random. It was based on evidence and probable cause that was developed over time. And that part is important because this wasn't something that happened overnight. This was an ongoing investigation, something that's been building for months. But at the same time, it's also important to understand what this doesn't mean. This is not an indictment yet.
No.
Meaning right now, this is still part of an ongoing investigation. The legal process is still unfolding. And we haven't even...
The fact that you got that many people searching for you, dog, you did this shit. Like, it's insane. They were literally just building a Rico against you, bro, this entire time. That's probably why they didn't get his ass early. They wanted to make sure he was gone for a while.
Haven't seen the full case yet. However, the authorities did move forward with an arrest. And according to law enforcement, they've now put together a full case, one that's being presented to the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office for review on Monday. That review will be handled by the Major Crime Division, the team that will ultimately determine whether this case moves forward with formal charges. And at this point, there are a few key questions that naturally come up. How strong is this case? What specific evidence do they have? And what exactly led investigators to...
Yeah, honestly, like, out of all this time, what did y'all gather? Like, actually, because he was gone. This case has been going on for months. When I say months, I mean months. I look crazy, but this has been going on for like a very, very long time. So what evidence did you like really gathered, other than like his music maybe being part of it, because you know they start using music as the evidence. Even though I think there was a law that came out that said they can't do that no more. I don't know. I'm not too sure, but it's like, where did y'all go? What evidence? And then honestly, I don't know if was David in jail this entire time. Let me know down in the comments.
To this point, that we don't fully know yet. However, with this arrest, a few key things have now been confirmed. Number one, David is currently being held without bail, according to police.
That's what
and
I
that
thought.
alone
They answered
signals
my
that
question.
the authorities are taking this extremely seriously. Because in cases like this, bail isn't just about money.
Bro,
It's about making sure that
14-year-old girl, bro, like, dog, her life was halfway started. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, halfway started, and you took that away from her. In jail. No.
the person shows up to court, protecting the integrity of the investigation, and in some situations, making sure there's no contact with potential witnesses.
Exactly.
And for this case specifically, we already know that investigators have spoken to multiple people, conducted a bunch of interviews, and gathered witness testimonies along the way. And when you factor in that someone in his position would have access to significant resources,
but why?
that can also
But, like,
become a...
were you just bored or something? Like, I know that sounds crazy to say, but it's like if you're at the top and you work so hard to finally get to the mainstream of music and Billboard 100 and all that other shit, why throw all that away when there's other people out here dying to be in the position you are? You just threw it away. For what?
consideration
That's the question.
in situations like this. Again, it doesn't determine guilt, but it does tell you how serious this situation is being handled by the authorities at this stage. And this is where things start to get a little more complex,
crazy.
because one of the biggest reasons this case appears to have taken months to develop comes down to a single question investigators needed to answer. How did Celeste Rivas Hernandez actually die?
Yes,
Now, this
that's
has
what
been
we've been
a
wanting
major
to
point
hear.
of contention in the case, because we do know that when 14-year-old Celeste was discovered, her remains were in an advanced state of decomposition, and that alone created a significant challenge for the medical examiners.
So my hypothesis, she's been dead for a while. Like, I'm talking like a while, and they just now probably found her. That's my hypothesis on this, because like, there's no way that y'all don't know how she died. Maybe she died by like being stuck in the trunk and suffocation, because you know there's not really much airflow, I think. But or maybe she had like she took something, or maybe it was just before like torture or something. I mean, it's many different possibilities. And the way like he was talking to his music and everything, it sounded like he was like evil, low key. And I didn't really realize like afterwards, because you know a lot of singers and stuff like that, they always sing about girls, or they always sing about, you know, what they love and or how they want to do this or this, that, and other. So I didn't really think much of it. I didn't think he was actually singing about stuff that he wanted to do to an actual person and actually doing it. So it's still, my question still stands. What drove you to this point?
Office.
Was
Because
it
without
the
being able
drugs?
to clearly determine the exact cause of death early on, it becomes much harder for
This is
investigators to
crazy.
officially classify the case and move forward with certainty. Now, at the same time, of course, given the circumstances in which she was found, there are going to be immediate assumptions made. That's natural, right? I mean, just think about how Celeste was found, right? But from an investigative standpoint, assumptions aren't enough. Everything
Yeah,
still has to be
facts.
proven clearly and definitely.
Can't
And
be
in this
no he
case,
said, she said
a
shit.
major part of that process came down to one thing: determining the exact cause of death. And now, after months of analysis, investigators are saying they believe they've reached that conclusion.
Oh my God,
But
we're
here's
finally
the
gonna
thing.
get the freaking
Authorities
answer.
still haven't fully revealed how they reached that conclusion, or what specific evidence
Just
led
lost
them
everything.
here. And that raises even more questions. What changed? What did investigators
Thank
find?
you. Like, I'm asking the same questions this whole video. That's that. Like, what the fuck?
We do know the condition Celeste was found in was extremely disturbing, and due to that condition, investigators initially faced serious challenges. Determining exactly how she died. At one point, details were even limited from the public,
That's
with authorities making it clear that
It was that bad that they can't even let the fucking public know. Yeah, he's in jail for life. Like, there's no way. Like, you're in jail. You're gonna be in dead. Wow, English. You're gonna be dead in jail for, like, you're not getting out, bro. The fact that they can't even describe or find a way of how she actually ended up dying is crazy work. I think that goes with my hypothesis, because if her body was decaying for that long, I mean, you got the heat, humidity, and all that stuff advancing and boosting the decaying process. That means she was in that car for a very long time before that she was even discovered. I mean, look at the condition of the car. It's all dusty. It looked like it hasn't been moved in months. That's crazy.
Releasing too much information could jeopardize the investigation and potentially impact witness testimony. But that decision didn't go without criticism. In fact, the chief medical examiner publicly pushed back, questioning whether limiting that information would actually help move the case forward. So for a long time, this case was being built quietly behind the scenes, with much of the information kept tightly and controlled. And now with this arrest, it suggests that investigators believe they've finally reached a point where they can...
I ain't gonna lie, in that picture right there, hold on, let's go back.
...would actually help move the case forward. So for a long time, this case was being built quietly behind the scenes,
is that just me?
with much of the information kept tightly and controlled. And now with this arrest, it suggests that
he look a little like a demon, low key, right? He looks a little evil in this. Is that just me, or am I tripping? He don't look like he right in the mind. Nah, something ain't right here. Nah.
Investigators believe they've finally reached a point
where
he
needs to be in jail.
Move forward. Now, David actually has 3 different attorneys representing him in this case, and they made a statement about the arrest and said the following: "Let us be clear, the actual evidence in this case will show that David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and he was not the cause of her death. There has been no indictment returned by any grand jury in this case and no criminal complaint filed. David has only been detained under suspicion. We will vigorously defend David's innocence." We still don't know exactly what...
Do you truly believe that? Like, that's one thing I can't do. I can't be a defense lawyer, dog. Because if you did that shit, bro, you getting 30 years off of me. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, how do you actually go to school and really defend somebody that you know is guilty, but you still have to get at least lessen their sentence? And you have to fight and say, yeah, they're innocent. Like, I can't do it. I truly can't. And that's like probably one of the hardest things to do, because you know that your client did the shit, but you have to go against what everybody's saying. Even though everybody else knows that your client did it, you still have to say no, he didn't. Like, I don't understand that.
Evidence authorities have, but what we do know is this: authorities believe it's enough to
unless
take
you're
action.
innocent.
And
if you're
throughout
innocent,
all
then
of
I
this,
can
by the way,
understand.
David has remained completely silent. He's largely disappeared from social media and hasn't been publicly active in the way fans were used to seeing him.
I wouldn't talk either.
And behind the scenes, things...
Sorry. I wouldn't talk either on social media, because social media is going to instantly just, like, say you did it. I mean, there's really no point for you to say anything. And plus, in an investigation like this, your best bet is to shut the fuck up. Like, actually. Like, getting on Twitter and Instagram and all that, your best bet is to shut the fuck up. But you already got a RICO built on you, dog. You're going to jail for a very long time. I hope they say
it appeared to have been extremely uncertain, because while his public presence went quiet, the case didn't. Investigators were continuing to build it piece by piece, taking their time to understand exactly what happened. And now, from the outside looking in, it might feel like this took too long. And honestly, part of me is like, damn, why did it take this long, right? Like, authorities should have reached a conclusion earlier. But at the same time, cases like this are
because it almost felt like the case just closed. It felt like the case was just never going to be reopened, and it felt like Celeste wasn't going to get justice. It was just like it felt like another person, just wrong place, wrong time, on to the next. That's what it felt like. So the fact that they're actually coming back now and coming out publicly saying we got him and we built a RICO against him, that's a sense of satisfaction that I needed right there.
With that being said, there were a bunch of movements happening behind the scenes. In fact, in my last video about this, we covered how authorities tracked down a key witness across state lines, that witness being Neil Langston, a social media figure who had been seen around David in the past, and was later identified as a potential grand jury witness in this case. And it didn't stop there. According to reports, multiple members of his family, including his father, mother, and brother, were also served grand jury subpoenas, meaning prosecutors were actively trying to get testimony from people close to him. But instead of cooperating immediately, there was pushback. The family challenged those subpoenas, essentially trying to avoid being compelled to testify. However, that effort didn't hold up, and on February 9, a court denied that challenge, which means, as far as we know, they were still required to appear and testify at that time. So when you take a step back and look at everything, this wasn't a situation where...
What was that little flicker? I didn't like that. I'm sitting kind of close to my monitor. You kind of just flashbanged me a couple times.
The case was being built slowly, with witness testimonies, legal pressure, and investigators working to connect every piece. And now it reached a point where an arrest has finally been made. But with that comes a lot of questions that I'm kind of asking myself, and I'm sure you're asking yourself these questions as well. what is the extent of David's involvement in all this? We still don't know what that evidence actually did investigators find that pushed this case to this point right here. And then there is another layer to this. Was anyone else involved? Because in some of the earlier reporting, there were suggestions that multiple individuals may have been connected to this particular case.
Of course he didn't just do this by himself, dog. Because I think, I could be wrong on my information, but she used to hang out around him like a lot, and she used to be around all his friends and stuff like that. So there's no way that he did this by himself. There's no fucking way. No.
When you think about the nature of the situation, it naturally raises questions about whether there were
get the whole
actually
house.
multiple people and multiple moving parts involved. And if that's the case, how do those pieces connect? And beyond that, there's of course the digital side of all this. Phone records, location data, messages. What kind of trail did this situation leave behind?
He looks
we also know that the
evil,
Tesla
bro.
had reportedly been sitting there for
I don't know if that's like his persona that he took on or whatever, but he looks evil as hell.
Extended period of time, and in that particular area there was surveillance, which means investigators have already reviewed the footage, tracked movements, and pieced together a timeline of events. So the real question becomes, was David captured in any of that footage? And if so, what exactly does that footage show? Because what I'm personally trying to understand here is, what was the key piece of evidence that led to this arrest? At a stage like this, investigators...
Where did y'all finally say, okay, we got him? Actually,
don't move unless they've built a clear timeline. Who was there, what happened, and when it happened. So whatever they have...
They had to connect something. I feel like it was multiple puzzle pieces that they was like, you know what? I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. There's a lot of evidence showing that he fucking did it. Because I want to know what was that one thing that finally clicked in their head, you know?
It was enough. At this point, his legal team was going to have to respond to whatever evidence they have against him. And depending on what investigators actually found, that could be very challenging for his legal team. Now, I'm not going to sit here and speculate on specifics, but I will say this, whether this situation is bigger than just one person. If that's the case, that's something that will likely come out over time. But beyond all that, the most important thing here is justice for Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Honestly, that's been my focus since day one, and if authorities have taken this step after months of investigation, then clearly they believe they've done the work and justice will be served. Now, the next major movement in this case comes Monday, when everything is presented to the Los Angeles County District.
Y'all might see another video about this if it comes out Monday, because I'm recording on a Friday.
District Attorney's Office. And that's when we'll find out the truth of what this actually means for David. As of right now, he's being held without bail, and that alone tells you how serious the situation is being treated. And that's what we know so far about the arrest of David in connection with the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas. If you made it this far, drop
Hell yeah. All right. Hey, shout out. I forgot. Shout out to my man, Blackie Speaks. Shout out to you, my boy. Thank you for giving us a deep dive into David. Like he was just about to say, if you enjoyed this video or you even have your own opinions about this, let me know down in the comments of what you think. That is he guilty or is he not guilty? What do you think next is going to happen? What do you think that piece of evidence is that made them click and be like, we finally got him? Let me know down in the comments. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure you catch on the like button, catch on the subscribe button, and I catch you in the next one. Peace out.